Hi. We're here. Sort of. This is garbage. Yes, I still have the cough. And the computer just crashed right before we went live. And that had nothing to do with the fact that I had to dismantle the studio today. Because this
Right.
computer didn't come with us. It had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. I don't even know.
Yeah. That's about how I feel about it.
Listen, I've been fighting with a toddler for 2 hours. On top of all day long.
Here.
I don't have a voice.
Let's try to do a show.
All right.
The following podcast contains adult language and themes, so don't say we didn't fucking warn you.
You're listening to Sarah Talk. It's political.
If you really give a fuck about the life of the unborn, you'd better be prepared to help fund WIC and food stamps and welfare, because you don't get to say, I care about that life until it's born, and then turn around and say, well, you shouldn't have had sex if you couldn't care for this child. You should have gotten a better education. You need to work harder. Maybe you should take a second job. It's not my responsibility.
Critical.
When was the last time a Christian was allowed to have a separate place to say their prayers? Look, you can literally bow your head at your fucking desk. You're like, why did he get the thing and I didn't get the thing? You didn't ask for the thing!
And positively LGBT positive.
Look, and whenever there's someone coming after my community, they are either wearing a MAGA hat, carrying a Bible, or more often both.
Oh, and occasionally completely absurd.
What the hell is in Idaho?
Potatoes.
Anyway? You could take a drill a
Drill up
hole
over the
in a
potato
and fuck
and
a
you'd be
potato.
fine.
Would you marry a potato though? Could that be okay?
No, but you wouldn't have to marry a potato because a potato doesn't need consent for you to fuck it.
And now, from Haines City, Florida, your host, Sarah Austin.
I quit the show.
No, you can't quit the show. I was going to quit the show. Fucking over this.
Oh my god, you guys. So, I don't know how the fuck we're going to keep doing this. I really don't. The little one won't go to sleep on time, ever, anymore. My days off are changing the first full week in July. So that will definitely change when we're able to do the show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. How are we going to keep doing it?
Life is about to get real crazy. On top of everything else that we're doing.
Right.
I got my little one starting pre-K.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be out of the house. I'm going to be going back to work, hopefully, for a little bit.
Right.
I'm not going to have all this time.
I know. I don't know what we're going to do.
Y'all, anybody want to take over SarahTalk podcast?
Right. This wouldn't be nearly as hard if you could say, like, you're going to go put the baby to sleep and I'm going to do the show.
Right.
If I had a co-host. I don't want to do this by myself. It's
No.
not nearly as fun. Anyway, this is episode 167. I think it's May 25th, 1942, and at least it feels that way out there.
Oh, no.
And we're going to try something new tonight on top of all of the other technical things and nonsense. We're going to try a new thing. How about that?
Because we're
Gluttons for
masochists.
punishment. Yeah, exactly. So I figured out, I think,
Yeah, you better have.
how to patch the video, and
God, my
when we
hair's a
play
mess.
videos, most of our audience is on audio, not video. Don't worry about your hair.
I'm looking at myself going, oh. Okay, sorry.
I can black out the screen if that would help.
That'd be great. Can you make me a silhouette like Keith's picture?
So I think I figured out how to, when we play back videos to talk about, but those of you who are watching on the live stream or YouTube later will actually be able to see them on screen without lots of extra work. So I think, we'll see how that goes tonight.
Don't get too excited, Dan. Just put that out there.
Right. If it doesn't work, then we're going to have to switch back to the old way.
And no bitching. New rule.
New rule.
My toddler bitches at me all day long. I don't need to come in here and get bitched at.
Jesse says you look great.
Thanks, Jesse. I love you too.
Okay, so what do I have? Like 4 stories? I really don't have a lot tonight, and all of the pages are upside down. Yeah, 3 pages. That's it. One clip is like 11 minutes long, so that'll probably take us a while, but so let's dig into it.
Digging in.
There's a couple of stories that are stories that we've covered in the past that I wanted to kind of come back to and update. So let's start with an update on McKenna Denson. Back in September, you may recall, we interviewed McKenna about her fight to take on the church, formerly known as Mormon, for their secretive practices covering up abuse generally, but specifically in her own case where she was raped in 1984 by the then president of the Missionary Training Center in Provo, Utah. That's episode 131. If you're just joining us and you want to go back and listen to that, that was an amazing interview. She's a rock star. And taking her public story helped launch the Mormon Me Too, which is sort of a spin-off of the Me Too movement, broader. Our interview was shortly after there was a release of an undercover recording that Truth and Transparency Foundation leaked that McKenna had made of a private conversation that she had with her rapist, 85-year-old Joseph Bishop. A judge who just happened to be a professor at Brigham Young University, which is owned by the Mormon Church, dismissed most of that lawsuit, letting Bishop off the hook, but maintaining that the church may still have action taken against it. So fast forward now. McKenna says she's been the victim of physical attacks that she believes are connected with the lawsuit against the church. She says someone snuck into her home and put Drano in her orange juice. Someone torched her car in her driveway. And someone in a hoodie who physically attacked her put her in the hospital. Here we go. Let's see if we can get this video to work.
Oh, man.
Hang on, I know what's wrong. I just need to restart it. I know what I did. And now.
McKenna Denson says she has had threats since she filed her high-profile lawsuit, but nothing like this.
I think the attacks are all related to my case against the church. My life is pretty normal beside that. I don't have enemies that would try to kill me, poison me, torch my car.
McKenna Denson is disclosing a series of incidents she says happened to her earlier this year.
That somebody came into my home and put Drano in my orange juice.
Denson says she was hospitalized for it. Then a few days later,
someone set my car on fire in my driveway.
About a week later, she says this happened.
There was a man by my fence in my front yard, and he had a hoodie and a sweatshirt. Couldn't really see his face, but I jumped off my porch. Don't ask me why I do this. My first response was, well, what are you doing? And I jump off my porch, and then someone came around behind me.
Denson says she was tackled and wound up in the hospital for a broken nose, wrist, and finger. The people fled. Police in Colorado confirmed to Fox 13 they are investigating all 3 incidents.
I have no name. I have no identity of who was behind the recent attacks. There wasn't a whole lot they could do, they said.
Denson says she believes it is because of her high-profile lawsuit against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. She's suing the church, alleging she was raped in 1984 at the Missionary Training Center by its then-president, Joseph Bishop. Denson accuses the church of covering up other instances of misconduct by Bishop. She says she's speaking out about the attacks now to show she won't be intimidated.
But at this point, I feel like the more public that information is, the safer I am.
Denson says she's now taken precautions for her personal security, but she tells Fox 13 she will not be silenced.
When I went public, I was fed up with not being allowed to know what happened in this particular case with Joseph Bishop. And I am not okay with that. I'm not okay with the church covering up sexual abuse, covering up rape, protecting their name above survivors. I'm not okay with the pain and the shame that survivors and victims suffer. yeah, they need to own it. They need to apologize, and they need to go through and make policy changes so that people are safe in the church.
Again, police confirm they are investigating, but without suspects, there is not really much to go on. A federal judge this week ordered the LDS Church to disclose to Denson's attorney the names of anyone it may know of who has accused Joseph Bishop of sexual misconduct. Her case is scheduled to go to trial next year. Live in studio, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
So there may be some more names coming out, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So law enforcement can't do much. We heard her say the only people she could imagine are people inside the church. Like who else could it be? Like who?
Right.
And I'm not suggesting that there's like some, fucking deep state Mormon conspiracy where
The Mormon mob.
right, where the the old men are sending out hitmen or whatever. Like I don't think that's happening necessarily. Maybe someone connected with his family.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past Scientologists.
Right, to do shit like that. Yeah.
But then I think, you know what? There's so much that we just don't know about these religions
Yeah,
that,
it's true.
I don't know, in this world that we live in, nothing would surprise me.
Yeah. And it may just be someone acting on their own.
Yeah.
It may just be a Mormon who's like, how dare you sully our good name?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Joseph Smith came to this person in a dream and said, go kill this woman.
So I reached out to McKenna again. I didn't really want to bother her or, waste a lot of her time. I just enough to reach out and say, like, hey, we love you and, we're still watching. And if you need us, anything we can do, but we send our love to her. It's just fucking crazy what she's going through.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Absolutely crazy. Here's another story that we've been following. Do you remember the daughter of Rachel and Joshua Piland, who died after those parents refused medical treatment?
There's been a lot of those.
Here's a refresher. The Pilands were involved with Lansing, Michigan-based Bible school called Faith Tech Ministries, which describes itself as a non-denominational but similar to Full Gospel or Pentecostal. So, wackadoo. You got to watch out for the non-denominational because that sounds like hippy-dippy. Oh, we're not Methodist or Baptist, but we're just, we're non-denominational. Anybody can get, no, they're the crazies. Mm-hmm. Their newborn baby, Abigail, was suffering from jaundice, and despite pleas from the midwife to take the baby to the hospital, the mother indicated the baby was fine and said, God makes no mistakes.
Yeah, I do remember this one.
If that didn't jog your memory, this will. The next day, the baby wasn't eating properly and coughed up blood. Still refusing medical care, they put the baby by a window wearing just a diaper and used a hairdryer to keep her warm. Even Rachel's mother, Rebecca, was concerned for her granddaughter. A detective said Rachel told Rebecca about the midwife's concern, then Rachel went to listen to sermons. The following morning, blood was coming out of the baby's nose and wasn't eating or breathing well, and later that morning she died. Rachel brought the baby to her husband, Joshua, who attempted only one rescue breath with no success. Then they took the baby upstairs to pray for her. They reached out to friends and fellow church members to come to the house and pray for the baby, but never called the police or EMS. And the detective testified they had gotten medical treatment to start with, the baby would likely have lived. Both the husband and wife were charged with involuntary manslaughter and posted $75,000 bond. They face up to 15 years in prison, and those charges have yet to go to trial. But in the meantime, 7 weeks after Abigail died, the couple's 2 other sons were taken from their custody and given to their maternal grandparents. And last year, the couple had another fucking baby. This baby had the same health issues, and because the parents were yet again unwilling to properly care for their child and seek medical attention, the state took that baby too and got her proper medical care, also placing her in the custody of the grandparents. So now the parents are fighting to regain custody of those 3 children.
Fuck no.
Right?
Fuck no.
And it's been tied up in the courts for over a year. Michigan law says that a parent cannot be considered negligent if medical treatment for a child is denied because that parent was, quote, legitimately practicing his religious beliefs, end quote. Tell me again how religion isn't privileged in this country? Ingham County Circuit Judge Laura Baird said that the case involved neglect, not negligence. So that law shouldn't apply. The Pilands appealed that decision and won in the appellate court. Then prosecutors appealed that decision to the Michigan Supreme Court. And this week, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled in favor of the parents. So now, what that basically means is, in their custody case, they can argue that they were just living out their shitty religious beliefs and use that law about negligence in defense to try to get their kids back.
I'm curious. I want to know what her other fellow church crazy people think of the fact that she basically killed her daughter
Right.
when she was only 3 days old, because I guarantee that if she had went and got an abortion, they would probably kick her out of the church.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder, is this life still sacred?
Right.
Or no, we prayed and God didn't want the baby to live, so.
Right?
Oh, God, these people are so fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
Right. Yeah, they would say that abortion is murder, but, you know, if you miscarry, well, that's God's will. That's what they would probably likely say. I'm sorry, again, we're going through this with this measles outbreak. New York is looking at revoking religious exemptions for vaccinations, which I'm in favor of. I think the only exemption should be medical. I don't think you get to say, I have a religious belief, so I'm going to put the public health at risk.
Right.
Right? And the same thing here. If your child needs medical attention, of course, had they known about it, the state should have stepped in the first child. If they had known, I'm sure they probably would.
But if it was a midwife, that means she was a home birth.
Yep.
So wasn't like she was at a hospital where a nurse or a doctor would see what's going on and step in.
Mm-hmm.
These religious anti-vaxxers, though, really kick my their own Bible back in biblical days. If you were sick or a leper or a menstruating woman, you were basically quarantined from everybody.
Oh yeah.
So
you got to shack out back for you to go stay in.
I think that I don't understand the mentality. I just don't get it.
Yep. Moving on. Take note, we're halfway done.
And Russell, did you not hear the whole beginning of the show where we talked about what a crappy day it was? Be glad you got a show. Don't be bitching that there wasn't a split screen.
Whatever. Okay, let's go back to Mormon country for a moment.
Oh no, I don't want to go there.
No. Listen, this is okay. It's weird, but it's okay.
Trigger me. I don't want to be triggered.
You know how it seems like gay Republican would be an oxymoron? What about gay Republican Mormon?
That's a unicorn that doesn't exist.
Well, I have one. This video is posted by Nathan Ivie, who is a 40-year-old Utah County Commissioner, Republican, and Mormon, that he posted to his Facebook. So we're going to make an effort to watch it.
This is going to be fun, guys.
I love Utah. I love my home and our community. the kinship that we feel here. I'm sharing my story with you today because I know I need to be honest with my friends, my family, and my neighbors here in Utah County. What I have to say is not easy for me and may not be taken well by everyone who hears it. I understand that. I just hope you'll hear what I have to say with the same spirit I want to share it with. There's no easy way to say this, so I might as well just jump up and say it. I'm gay. That's my reality, and that's what I need to talk to you about today. After decades of wrestling with who I really am, I've come to understand and accept some things about myself that have not been easy. I understand the impact my discoveries have had and will have on others, yet I'm still the same person I've always been. I hope, to you, this part of my life doesn't become my defining trait. As I've been honest with those closest to me, I'm thankful for how so many have responded. Even if they can't completely understand the changes in my life, they've made it clear that they love and support me, no matter what, just as I would do for them. My long journey to self-discovery and acceptance began when I was just 9 years old. I just felt different. My orientation and attractions were not those that were expected of me, not the ones I was taught to expect for that matter. I believed there was something wrong with me, and I fought from the beginning to find some way to change myself. That battle resulted in a failed suicide attempt when I was 22 years old. Though I recovered from that near tragedy and tried to live the life that was expected of me, the truth is, I never felt comfortable in my own skin. I felt I was living someone else's life rather than my own. It felt deceptive, not just to others, but to myself. Many of you know that one of my greatest skills and passions is as a horse trainer. I love working with horses. I always have. But I finally realized that I've spent most of my life feeling like the horse that was born defective, broken, and destined for the kill pen. In recent years, though, that's changed. I've come to accept that while I may be different, I'm still a loving person, worthy of love, who values others and hopes to be valued. I'm as committed today as I have ever been to my faith, family, and freedom. But I realized I could not continue to live a lie. It wasn't fair, it wasn't right for anyone. Sharing my truth with my wife was hard, but together, after long days and nights of confronting this issue, we've come to a place of loving understanding. She's my best friend and supporter, and I'm hers. While we've accepted that it's best to dissolve our marriage, our personal bond is unbroken. We've spent long hours discussing my future, our future, and how we can move forward as a different kind of family to fulfill the responsibilities we took on together to our two amazing children. So this is my day to get honest with you, my community. I know some people will not understand or accept what I've announced today. I get it. I hope time will bring those people to a place of understanding. But I've also learned that most people in my life are far more understanding than I ever thought possible. Those experiences can and have brought me to tears. One thing's for certain. Tomorrow, it's a new day. The sun will come up again. We'll have work and responsibilities, things to do. Who I am, it doesn't change any of that. My friends will still be my friends. I'll still love my family and do my best to take care of them. I will continue to serve my county as Utah County Commissioner with all my heart. I know there are haters in every area of our life, but we cannot let that be what defines us as a community. Through my personal experiences, I've come to know the truth and the power of the immortal words of Dr. King when he said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." Thank you for hearing me out today.
Was that the most Mormon video I think I've ever seen?
Oh, sorry.
Something about the music.
It was like Delilah After
choice.
Dark.
Yeah.
Kind of like his speaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I could have actually gone to sleep to that.
And that sort of like Chuck Norris kind of like
his belt buckle,
wannabe.
Dan, that's behind his head. That's his belt buckle. He's not on his belt.
And you know the cowboy hat's hard to light. It's hard to get the lighting just right on that cowboy hat.
Voice.
Oh God.
It's true. Jesse says, I honestly have respect for this man.
Yes, we're laughing at him, but
yeah, no, absolutely. It's gotta be. Oh my God, I can't even. But
again, like my thing here is, I just wish that he would be able to see that the toxic ideas about sexuality that led him to near suicide come from the political party with which he affiliates and the church that he's a member of.
Right?
Like, that would be my only, like, good for you. Come out. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And who knows?
And he's a county commissioner, so.
But now, who knows now? He's just coming out now. Let's follow him and see what happens and see, because, you know, sometimes people do have an awakening.
Yeah.
When they're faced with actual, like, discrimination and oppression. And so let's see how people actually react to him and if that changes his thought process I would love to follow this guy and see where he is.
I mean, kind of a no-name nobody, but we saw Caitlyn Jenner go through that.
Right.
When she came out and transitioned, and then she had her TV show that was it was whatever. And like all of these people that she invited to, you know, like be on the show with her were like, how can you fucking be a Republican?
Right.
How can you support Donald Trump? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Right.
Are you crazy? And it's, you know, she just hadn't given up that privilege yet, in her case. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is great. Like, I think more people need to do that. And I think to the idea of the unicorn, I don't think it's as unicorn as we'd like to think it is. I think they're all hiding because their religion and their politics tell them that you're a shitty person and you can't be that.
And, you know, this is great. He's coming out and he's making these, you know, being honest. But the thing that worries me is I know the Mormon protocol for same-sex attraction.
Right.
And so if he's going to try to stay a Mormon, that really doesn't allow him to live authentically.
Yeah.
Because they're not supposed to have any same-sex relations. So I'd be curious to see how that, because I think once you get that out, once it's out there, I think it's a lot harder to pull it back in and hide it and pretend it's not a thing, you know? So is he going to be able to, you know, I don't know. Some people can.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't know.
Keep talking.
I don't want to talk anymore.
All right, that's fine. I'm done. Okay, so yeah, good for you, Nathan. Just maybe pick some different music next time. Okay, finally, my last story. Kenneth Copeland. He's a slimy, sleazy televangelist who's come under fire several times for his penchant for all things expensive. Fancy cars, lavish mansions, private jets. Copeland has 2 of those jets, which his faithful flock happily throw money at him to pay for. One valued around $20 million. And the most recent one that he purchased in January 2018 from Tyler Perry, of all people.
Wow.
Inside Edition conducted an investigation into the greed and luxury of both Jesse Duplantis and Kenneth Copeland. But in the interest of time, and because Copeland seems to be far, far worse, let's watch the entire confrontation between Inside Edition and Kenneth Copeland. And I think this is the big test. Got the video to work. But I think we're going to be able to stop this one so that we can
interject.
You're going to want us to.
Or we're going to want to, one way or the other.
How are you, sir? We'd just like to ask you about why you don't want to fly commercial. Why have you said that you won't fly commercial? You said that it's like getting into a tube with a bunch of demons. Why do you think that?
No, listen to me just a second. Not the people. The main reason is because of the need. If I flew commercial, I'd have to stop 65% of what I'm doing. That's really the main.
Isn't it true that you want to fly commercial so that you can fly in luxury? How much money did you pay for Tyler Perry's Gulfstream jet, for example?
Well, for example, that's really none of your business, but...
Actually, may not be her business.
Well, here's the thing.
But
it's none of anybody's business because remember, religious organizations are exempt from reporting requirements. Right?
Yeah.
So the nonprofit that we just formed, every year we have to file financial paperwork. Churches don't have to do that. They don't have to disclose that stuff.
You know what Kenneth Copeland's net worth was in 2018? Dan does. $760 million US.
Jesus Christ. All right, let's see. This should pick up where we left off. This is the big test.
Isn't it the business of your donors?
Listen, I paid. You kind of caught me off guard here.
He is just the sleaziest person.
You know what's sad is he reminds me of an elder in my old congregation.
I don't doubt it.
Like this is.
I don't doubt it at all.
Creepy.
Yeah. And watch his face here because, like, for people who talk about like people being possessed by demons and shit, just watch his face, watch his eyes.
Okay.
Certainly. Well,
look at that.
If you'd like to come out here, I'd like to give you a chance to catch your breath and have a conversation. We don't want to catch you off guard.
I love Inside Edition. You got to get this now. Hey, you listening to me? My wife thinks Inside Edition is. Oh yeah.
What the hell?
It's just the weirdest fucking dude.
Now, thank you, Lord. Help me. Just let me pray this thing.
Well, let me just ask you a really simple question. A lot of people think it's unbecoming for a preacher to live a life of luxury and to fly around in private jets. What's your response to that?
Very simple. It takes a lot of money to do what we do. We have brought over 100. Let's see. The latest figures just came out. 122 million people to the Lord Jesus Christ. Let me give you another example. Last May, I was scheduled for Lagos, Nigeria. That's a long ways. I had a week off, and I was scheduled for Peru.
Nobody cares.
And I prayed about it, and I thought, I'm not missing that dedication.
Look at that. If that is not the
without the airplane
creepiest
we have that I bought from Tyler
possessed
Perry,
face.
And I didn't pay anywhere. And Tyler's one of the greatest guys. He made that airplane so cheap for me, I couldn't help but buy it.
Well, my question then.
Oh my
okay,
God.
all right, but I want to.
But that whole thing about like, if if I didn't have this private jet, we couldn't do all the Lord's work and all of these souls that we brought to Jesus. We couldn't have had if we didn't have had this private plane that we could, fly into these countries where they don't know no better, and we can just tell them whatever we want to tell them, and they'll believe it because they're stupid. That's what he's saying. He's saying, look, we're going into these cultures that are not as advanced and developed as the Western world, and we're feeding them our bullshit, and it's working. And thank you for the plane, Tyler.
Well, yeah, man.
Get to the demons, because people are very concerned about that comment.
Give me a chance here inside edition.
Oh, my God.
I love your eyes.
Whoa! Whoa!
I don't love yours.
Hashtag
Let me tell you.
Me too, motherfucker.
Right?
Don't fucking talk about my eyes, you creepy little bastard.
Jesse says I need to shower just listening to him. Right? No shit.
And here's what happened. We flew in 21 days, 70 hours, 40,000 miles, touched 5 continents, and preached face to face personally.
Because that's so much more effective.
I wouldn't want him in my face.
Here's the thing. When you're a televangelist and you're making the case for, like, we were face to face, as if that is somehow more impactful or meaningful or productive, like, great, well then stop doing your televangelist bullshit,
right,
and then just do it face to face.
Right. You got the plane now.
With 125,000 people.
Do you ever use your private jets to go visit your vacation homes, for example?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
Again, getting back to the comment, you said that you don't like to fly commercial because you don't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. Do you really believe that human beings are demons?
Okay, now, I'm going to pause for a moment. Because I want you to, like, lock into this moment and really pay attention.
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but principalities and powers.
Can you explain what you meant by that term then? Just
Get the fuck out of her face, asshole. Now don't you dare, don't you say that. God damn, dude, you said it.
I'm sure he's...
You said it.
I'm sure, based only on that he has gotten into somebody's face. Don't you ever tell anybody I did that to you.
Oh, yeah, right? No shit.
That's what just went down the back of my neck.
Yep.
Nasty old man.
Just explain, because it's really simple. You said you didn't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. What did you mean?
Well, let me ask you.
Do you think that people that fly commercial are demons?
If you give me a chance to talk, sweetheart, I'll explain this to you.
Sweetheart, shut the fuck up.
But it's a biblical thing. It's a spiritual thing. It doesn't have anything to do with people. People, I love people. Jesus loves people.
I love people that give me their money.
But people get pushed in alcohol. Do you think that's a good place for a preacher to be and prepare to go preach to a lot of people when somebody in there is dragging some woman down an aisle? It made me so mad to see that on television. I wanted to punch the guy out myself. I can't be doing that while I'm getting ready to preach.
So you just don't like to be around the sinful people or the hurtful people. Is that what you're saying?
The people, baby, not the people.
Oh, this is that hate the sin, love the sinner bullshit. Oh, it's not the people that are bad. It's the demons that are possessing them that make me not want to be around them.
Back during the days that we couldn't do anything else, we had to travel commercial. When I went to Oral Roberts University, I flew for Oral Roberts. I'm a commercial pilot. So I spent a lot of time in airplanes.
You have how many planes?
We have the Gulfstream, and we still have our Citation 10. And then we have a little small airplane. But both those are the two ones that we use, and we use them all the time. And other people use them too. We have other ministries that use these. In the book of Ephesians, oh God, I love this. We wrestle not with people, but with principalities and powers, unseen things, rulers of the darkness of this world. Talking about the devil. He's a very real devil, just the same as Jesus is a very real Lord.
He's just got this fucking creepy possessed look about him.
Russell says, wow, I don't want to fly with him. Let him have his private plane. He looks and acts and sounds like a demon.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, he's slipped into preacher mode here. This is fun.
And I spent a lot of time on airlines. But the main thing that happened was that wasn't the main reason. The main reason was I could no longer do what I called to do and be on the airlines. Besides that, I need my clothes when I get there.
And you have some fancy clothes. I mean, for a pastor, you are living a life of luxury.
Yes,
you've got great homes. You've got great planes. You drive in limos.
I'm a
and
very wealthy man.
It's so proud of
very
it.
wealthy man.
Yes.
Yeah. And some people would say that is it appreciate?
May I add something to that?
Yeah. Let me tell you about the other things
my
I own.
wealth doesn't come from offerings alone.
Because you sell things, books and DVDs.
Yes. And I have a lot of natural gas on our property. Didn't know that, did you, babe?
Now I do.
Yeah, you do.
I'm gonna vomit.
This is like
literally.
they should use clips of this in like a high school class.
How to spot a predator?
Yeah. Yes.
Isn't that wonderful?
Well, I guess. Wonderful for you.
Back when...
She's great.
And I might add another thing, too.
Well, let me tell you some more.
We invest from, let's see, I don't know the exact number on last year yet, but it will run something in the neighborhood of 25 million in the poor. Can't do that and be broke.
So final question is, a lot of people maybe have a misunderstanding then about what you do in prosperity preaching. So the final question is this. To those critics that say that a preacher should not be living a life of luxury, what is your response to that?
Because let's talk about the biblical justifications for that. Right? And the pride that comes along with it.
I'm a very wealthy
Yes,
man.
I'm very wealthy. The Bible had a lot to say about that, too.
They're wrong.
That's it?
That's it?
That it's a misunderstanding of the Bible that if you go into the Old Covenant, do you think the Jewish people believe you should be broke?
Are you saying that Jewish people appreciate money more than... Really?
They believe in wealth.
Some people would find that offensive.
No, wait a minute now.
You think?
I'm not talking about some people. I'm talking about the Bible.
I'm not talking about some people. I'm talking about Jews.
Blessing of Abraham. Abraham was extremely wealthy, and he had a covenant with God. It's not the Jewish blessing, it's the Abrahamic blessing. God, I get excited talking about it because I love it. And I started out deep in debt with nothing, which is another story. But anyway.
And while the cameras are rolling, let me tell you another story. I got all kinds of stories. You got all day? We got all day.
I can't.
Biblical, and that there's a foundation in the Bible for this.
Let me close it with this. I had to learn this, like I said, from the Bible and from my spiritual mentor, Oral Roberts. And I learned it from him, working with him, and then he was close friends until he died. And he took the same heat for believing God would prosper you that I've taken over the years. And Abraham was a very, very wealthy man. Galatians chapter 3. If you belong to Christ, then are you Abraham's seed and heirs according to his promise. And his promise was great wealth.
I don't understand how the little old ladies that throw their money at this guy fucking fall for this. I just don't. Ugh. He is so clearly a huckster.
Jesse says his hands creep me out. They remind me of like every Disney villain's hands and over animated.
What was the other one you had, the episode title?
Episode title, How to Spot a Predator. Thank you, Dan.
The Bible also says that it's more difficult for a rich man to get into heaven than it is for a camel to get through the eye of a needle, correct?
Oh, good for you, girl.
But he said, all things are possible with God. And he said, if you study the Greek behind that, it's trusting in wealth. When he said that, his disciples said they were astonished out of measure because they were wealthy men. They were astonished out of measure, saying, how can anyone be saved? He said, all things are possible with God.
Both of my grandfathers were preachers. They were both very poor. They lived simple, modest lives. They were extremely offended by men that made money like you do, preaching like you do.
Fucking get him.
What would your response be to people that think that preachers shouldn't live this kind of a lifestyle? Folks like both my grandfathers.
And I understand that.
But I'm fucking rich, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Hey, let's see how close I was.
And I love them with all my heart. It's your grandfathers that we're standing on their shoulders. They held up and they stood for it. Glory to God.
Your grandfathers, the preachers of your grandfather's sort of tribe, being selfless and not living beyond their means as preachers, because biblically they saw that was important. They paved the way for me to come in and act kind of like them and take lots of money like they did, and then spend it on shit that I want, like cars and houses and jets. Thanks to your grandparents, the sort of preachers that your grandfathers were, that's what enables me to be the slimy fucking 3 a.m. MyPillow commercial salesman that I am.
But when you go back to the Bible, it's full of wealth. And it's full of miracles and signs and wonders. And it's full of goodness. And it's full of meanness. It's just full of hell on earth. Those are the demons.
Yeah,
not the
okay.
people. I love the people.
Again, getting back to Sir, thank you so much for your time
What's your
today. Lisa Guerrero.
Lisa, God bless. Father, bless Lisa today. Thank
God.
you for her grandparents. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to know her.
Thank you for giving me a name to my masturbatory fantasy later
Oh
when
my
I think about
God.
her beautiful eyes.
So disgusting.
It's almost done.
And to her team. And I pray and I believe her piece will be successful. I love Inside Edition. I love the people on it. And it thrills me to get a chance to have my face on Inside Edition.
Thank you
I
very
love
much,
you, girl.
Reverend. You have a nice day.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for your patience.
Holy shit. So there you go. There's Inside Edition, and wow. Kenneth Copeland. What a guy. Good Lord. So we're winding down here, and as always, we want to say a thank you to the people who support the show. For as little as $1 an episode, you can join our great patron family at patreon.com/SarahTalk, or you can support the show for free by leaving a 5-star review on Apple or Google Podcasts or wherever you listen to the show, and share this episode to Kenneth Copeland. I think that would be fun. Okay, Next, the Florida Man, brought to you by declined patron Russell. Sheep, Sheep, Sheep is a Christian name, and unstable genius of internet research.
You were supposed to put the cricket.
You, Florida Man?
I told you, you needed to prepare the crickets.
Oops. Well then, I guess that's the end of the show. Sorry that there's no. Look, we were really busy. To be honest,
guys,
we're screwing around here, but
horrible.
It was a really busy week. So, as always, we're gonna sign off. This is the shortest show in the history of the show.
Maybe. I mean, we started
54
late.
minutes. Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, so let's just wrap it up then. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to the patrons for patroning. Thanks to McKenna Denson. Thanks to Gay Republican Mormons. And thanks to Inside Edition. That's it, guys. We'll see you next week. You've been listening to SarahTalk.
SarahTalk is made possible by listener support. Visit patreon.com/SarahTalk to become a patron and help keep this program going. Contact Sarah and Company by email at producer@sarahtalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. And follow us on social media, facebook.com/SarahTalkRadio and on Twitter @SarahTalkRadio. SarahTalk is a production of Sarah Austin Media.